Hi there, and welcome to Bustthenet. Yes, a quick heads up to all my patrons. Thank you for continuing to support this channel. You can expect me to follow up on the getting started with series for quite a few of the teams. I'll play a few matches, do a few playthroughs, but these shows will be exclusive only to patrons, and I probably won't release nearly all these shows out to the general public. So yes, stay tuned for those shows. Now on today's show, we're going to revisit a topic that I covered in the book, and I sometimes see these questions occasionally cropping up on Discord. So we I want to try and help you guys. Maybe it wasn't explained really clearly in the book, so I'm going to do a video on this, and I'm going to focus very closely on why some attributes are very important for certain duties. This will become a very, for me personally, it's a very important way for me to play the game. It is singularly the only real secret to my success. Okay, whenever I play these games, I'm always thinking in terms of what certain duties bring to the table, and when I'm looking at my players, regardless of whether these are is an LLM team or a Champions League winning team, the process is always the same. And what I do is I isolate these attributes when I analyze players. Now, if I'm going to be, the new book is going to be released soon. I'm still proofreading it, or getting it proofread rather. And within the book, I also deal with this subject. But now in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to break all these duties apart. Right, we're going to break all these duties apart and understand why it's important to identify them by their key attributes. The first thing we want to bear in mind is that SI did take some of my ideas from my book and they've incorporated them into the game. Whether or not this was intentional, I don't know, because a copy of my book did end up in SI Towers. And sometimes messages like that seem to be a clue in themselves. All right, so one thing I want to share with you all is whenever you are playing the game, you will notice that if you go to any one of these tactics, if you look at another player and you hover him, you drag him over, you'll notice that they compare the two central midfielders together via the important attributes. Now this is really cool, very important, and I can tell you one thing: it is very, very, very important. Okay, because it's part of the whole way I play my game. Now, if you look at this, we've got two players here who I want to check them out as Mazalas, right, in an attack duty. Notice one of their attributes that they've covered. So if you've got two players here for Mazala, one is Lucas Liva, and the other one is Milnikovic Savic. I can't even pronounce his name. Okay, all right. So we look at the important attributes. You got dribbling, finishing, and passing. Very important for a Mazzala to have good dribbling, good passing. And then if you look down the list, it's got decision making, flair, which is a key attribute for the Mazzala, work rate, determination, off the ball, acceleration, fitness, and stamina. So you can see that they've incorporated some of the ideas that were in my book into the game, but they focus more on the actual the job that the guy is doing. Like they want it to be a Mazala. So as a Mazala, he needs decision making, he needs flair, he definitely needs work rate. Now there are other attributes that go into play as well, that you don't see here. First touch is one of them. As you can tell, they've divided these up into technical attributes. Then you've got the I rather these are the mental attributes and these are the physical attributes. It's really cool, very, very, very important that we get a handle on this very quickly. So now when you go into the game, there is a reason why you want to identify them by support duties first you look at all your duties and then identify the attributes via their duties. Now, once you sorted that out, then you start looking at how that player plays in that role. So, for example, if we are talking about Mazala, for example, this is a creator. In the book, I define support duties differently, right? So some are creators and some are not creators. Some are there just to shuttle the ball around like a support duty, like this ball winning midfielder on support. He's more like a shuttler. You don't expect him to create anything. You expect him to move the ball up get the ball from defense through midfield to attack. You don't expect him to bring anything attacking to the table. But the Mazala, on the other hand, you expect something. You expect this role to bring something to the table. Whether it's a support duty or an attack duty, it's a creative role. So for creative roles, we have certain expectations with their attributes. Now, why is this important? Because sometimes we want to do overloads. How do we do overloads? I did a video in FM17. It's very relevant until today. I mean, I don't think it's going to change the way you create an overload. An overload is created when you have enough support duties on one side of the pitch so that they can all keep the ball together. You don't have too many attacking duties, but you make sure that these duties in themselves are good enough for them to hold on to the ball. Now, this doesn't create effective overloads. It's got an F9 here and an AF on attack. If I wanted to really create a solid overload, I'd probably be looking at pushing maybe one of these guys to the support duty. However, it's a 5-3-2. 5-3-2s are notoriously hard to create overloads with. So what I've done is I've done the best to hold the ball in this area, knowing fully well that my support and my defend duties are going to be very important in locking down this side of the flank, which is the reason why I have a ball-winning midfielder. So I've got a Mazzala on attack, I've got a wingback on support, I've got a DM on defend. Ideally, we want an F9 on support playing over here, maybe as well, because this role here should be the F9. That way, I get a better overload. My overload now is a lot more effective. If I have an F9 playing here, this F9 is going to drop deep here. With the Mazzala, we've created what is called an overload. Why? I now have enough players on this side of the flank playing on support and attack duties so that we create an overload. Why is that the case? Some of you probably asking, I don't get it. I still don't get how he's created an overload. Okay, basically, we've got a wingback on support bombing up this flank, right? We've got attack duty running this way, and I've got a run wide with ball, so he's going to go this way. The F9 is dropping deep this way. So can you just picture a lot of players being very close to each other? That's what I mean by an overload. When you have a lot of players close to each other, supporting each other, there's no chance they can't find each other with the ball. That is when the support duties key attributes come into, they kick in. This is when their key attributes kick in. So I have broken these down in my book, right? So the key attributes are like things like off the ball, composure, passing, balance. These are things you don't see on that little widget that we did earlier, where we dragged Lucas Leiva over here and we saw, oh yes, wonderful, brilliant, we see all these important key attributes for their role. But no, we have not seen the support duties roles. We don't, SI haven't told you how to create an overload. If SI were to give you everything on a silver platter, the game will be too easy. Already the game is now getting easier and easier and easier. So I'm going to share everything I know with you guys, and I hope that you guys continue to support the channel, and I'm pretty sure that this is going to come in handy for you. So how do we then take this to the next level? The important attributes by duties. We've got determination, work rate, and bravery. These are what I call swing attributes. You put them there, you forget about it, but they're all important. Why? Determination, work rate are all important attributes in this game. SI have also said in not so many words that determination is extremely important. It affects everything in the game. It affects your training, it affects how they develop, it affects how they defend, it affects how team does for 90 minutes of the game. So determination as an attribute is extremely important. If you have any player with 2 to 5 or 6 for determination in any league in the world at any level of the game, that player is a liability. Why? His determination is so low in the game that you have to ask question marks about his desire. The determination affects desire in the game. Now, in lower league football, sometimes you can get away with low determination, but then that's only because the rest of the league has got low determination. The moment you start getting promoted, you push up to the next level, then whenever something goes wrong with your team, you're going to have to look at those players first. So basically, whenever something goes wrong, it's those guys with low determination that you isolate first. Those players with low work rate that you associate first. Why are these two attributes so important? Determination affects work. Determination affects desire. Work rate affects how willing they are they to go up and come down for 90 minutes of a game. As you know, of course, stamina plays a part, but if their work rate is already low, that's high stamina means nothing, So a player can have a low work rate, and it's gonna not be very good for the rest of the team, because especially for defend duty. So determination and work rate are just important. I call them swing attributes. So when you have analyzed the team and you've gone through all the team and you found all the key attributes by duty, then finally, when you got two equal players, two players are very close, then you look at determination, work rate, and bravery. The player who's got higher numbers in all three is the player you use. For defend duties, the most important attributes are positioning, anticipation, concentration. Why are these three attributes very important? The key attributes that affect the intelligence to control a certain zone. for them to read. This is what we call footballing intelligence for defenders. Then we've got jumping reach, tackling, heading, and marking. Jumping reach is part of their the DNA for whether or not they can actually get up in the air. Now, jumping reach has to work with heading, right? So if he's got high jumping reach and got low heading, that means his technique for heading isn't very good. Get him to work on it. Then you check his height attribute, his height as well, because sometimes a young player might have very good height, like 1.85, 1.9, but his jumping reach may not be high yet, and his heading may not be high yet. Then you can develop a player. So you need to look at the height of a player as well before you determine whether his jumping reach has a chance to improve. So players with low height, generally, they don't expect them to peak very high for jumping reach and heading as well. So this is going to be important for defenders, because if jumping reach is good, then you know that you can deal with crosses into the box. Now, does this mean that you never use players with low jumping reach? No. It means that this is an important attribute because it allows you to define whether or not your team can handle crosses. If they can't handle crosses, then you know that you cannot play narrow systems, or you cannot play on low mentalities, because the moment you play on low mentalities, balls are going to come down your flanks. So if you have players with poor positioning, or worse still, poor jumping, if they have bad jumping reach, for example, right, then you know that if the balls come down the flanks, they're going to be crosses into the box. If your boys cannot hit those balls away, you're in trouble. So you at least need one player in your defense who's got good jumping reach, and this should always be at this. If the league best is 15, your player has to be 15 or higher. It cannot be lower than the league best. So jumping reach, at least one of your defenders needs very good jumping reach. If anybody followed Gloucester City last season I played, I had a player called Stephen Arterbury. We got promoted into the Premiership and he couldn't tackle. His tackling was only about 10 or 11. His concentration was about 11. His jumping reach on the other hand was 17 and his heading was 17. He played for me in the first season and he handled crosses into the box like a pro. Everything else about his game was lousy. Because I knew that we were going to be getting a lot of crosses in the game, all I needed was Stephen Arterbury to just keep us in the Premier League for one season. And he did his job. The next season we replaced him, which is very sad because we knew that we couldn't win the title with him in the side. I mean, he was good enough to defend with, but he was not good enough for us to race up, and win the title. So these are the key attributes you're looking for defense duties. And this applies to any defense duty in the game. So if you're looking at a ball-winning midfielder on defense, same thing: positioning, anticipation, concentration, jumping reach, tackling, heading, marking. So if you're looking for a fullback on defense, the same thing. This is the key attributes that you're looking at. Now, for fullbacks, maybe you want to tone this down because they're on the flanks. You can't expect every single fullback to have great jumping reach. So that's when you look at just positioning, anticipation, concentration. So you should use good judgment here. These are the key attributes of defense duties, and you need to decide based on these, based on the player that you have and the formation that you're using. It will give you a very good idea of the kind of formations you can and you can't play with. When we look at support duties, we have to break these support duties into two kinds of players. We've got the players that basically just work to make sure that we bring the ball from defense through to midfield and to attack. They don't really get part in. They don't really contribute so much to the attacking phase unless you're camping. Then they go like, okay, maybe we can go up and do something. Yeah, we're camping anyway, so we might just drop in a cross. That's what I used to do when I was told to be a fullback. I used to play fullback last time, and that's exactly what my coach used to tell me. My coach believed that I was very young, and my coach believed I had no attacking nous. I mean, zero. I was a hopeless. I mean, if I go attacking and never come back, that was me. I didn't know how to come back and defend. So my coach used to tell me, you've got the height, stay back and defend. So some players, when you start camping, that's when your coaches go, okay, all right, we might as well put you in there. If you can get forward, you go get forward. So when we're looking at support duties, looking at stamina, natural fitness, positioning, off the ball decisions, and passing. These are your important attributes. Why? Stamina, because you need them running up and down all the way. Natural fitness, yes, the worst thing you can ever get in a game is a player with low natural fitness, because half time you got to change him. So if he's got natural fitness of about 8, 7, These guys will never last you 90 minutes. So there's no point having them in the team. So I put this as a very important attribute. Positioning naturally, because positioning is very important for any support duty. He has to be in the right position for him to contribute towards the defensive phase of the game, because support duties contributes to the defensive as well as the offensive phase, which is why off the ball is also important. So if you've got somebody who's got good positioning but bad off the ball, then you know that maybe he's not going to be so reliable when he goes into the offensive phase. Then he's better off being a defend duty. If you still want to use a support duty, you can, but you have to always factor in this player and know that, all right, if I want to overload, for example, I can't use him because he's not going to make himself available for the pass. So you know that he is not going to be on the overloading side, because on the overloading side you need more better players. So he goes on to the non-overloading side. So then we also need players to have good decisions in passing, because support duties, you need them to have some brains. They need to know when to go up and when to come down, because if they got bad decisions, then they're just going to screw things over. Then you're going to look at the boys as shuttlers or creators. Those guys who are shuttling generally need strength and tackling, because these guys are expected to win the ball. They're expected to put in the challenge. They're not expected to go up there and create anything, so you don't really need too much from them. So if they don't have very good off the ball, they belong in the shuttler category. If they have good off the ball, they go to the other side, which is why off the ball is an attribute right on top, because you will decide based on this whether he has off the ball or not. To where does he drop? Does he drop in the shuttler category or does he drop in the creator category? So if he's got good off the ball, you put him in the creator category, because then you start looking, does he have vision? Does he have flair? Because if he has vision, he can see the pass. If he has flair, he can do something magical, mazala. Then you look at the technicals like crossing, dribbling. Can he cross the ball? Can he dribble? If he can dribble, then you can think about a playmaking role that allows him to dribble and do some damage on the wings, or maybe even through the middle. Finally, balance. Balance is an important attribute. Why? Why is balance such? Why do people ignore balance? People ignore balance at their peril. Playmakers need balance. Imagine this. Have you ever seen Lionel Messi fall? No, not really. Why? Because he's got great balance. As players start putting him under pressure, he can turn and twist. That's a function of balance and agility. So if you need somebody who can handle the ball under pressure, like Andre Pirlo, who's not very, very fast, but has got fantastic balance, he can just turn the ball onto his other foot and just get the pass away. That's because he's got good balance. And you also need them to have good composure and first touch. So these are players in the support categories. So if you're looking at shuttlers, we're probably looking at players like Carrirelos. We're looking at ball-winning midfielders on support duties, or even central midfielders on support duties. But you don't need them to move into channels. You don't need them to create chances. You just need them to be hanging about. In that case, if they were doing that, then what? You might as well go for either a Carrirelos or a ball-winning midfielder on support. Creators, we're looking at players like deep-lying playmakers on support. We're looking at segundo volantes. Yes, segundo volantes belong in this category. They need vision too. Then we're looking at roaming playmakers. We're looking at the Mazalas. We're looking at even in the attacking category. We're looking at F9s, DLFs, trequartistas, inside forwards on support. Any player that is expected to create something, a chance for somebody else, falls in this category. Now finally we come to the attack duty. Now when it comes to the attack duties, it's pretty straightforward. Attack duties really depends. Why haven't I put acceleration in there? Acceleration depends on the situation and how you want to play. Now acceleration is great for like lower league teams, right? I always go for physical attributes like acceleration, but it may not necessarily be the case for every single team, because acceleration is about breaking into space. A lot of top teams don't get space. We can't break into space. We have to invite them, draw them out, and then after that hope that we can get space. Sometimes we end up camping, and with this acceleration just goes to waste there. So the more important attributes are going to be off the ball decisions, first touch, composure, balance, vision, finishing, crossing, dribbling, and passing. So whenever you have an attack duty, like for example, a wide midfielder on attack. Now a wide midfielder on attack needs off the ball, so he makes himself available for the ball. He needs decisions because he needs to know when to go forward and attack space. He needs good first touch, good composure, because he's gonna be put under pressure, and all the other attributes. Now when does acceleration come into play? Acceleration can be an attribute for a certain style of football that you want. So if you're going to be counter-attacking and you want to be attacking attacking space as it is, then acceleration becomes important, because acceleration allows you to change the way you play for certain positions, especially if you're playing with a wide system where you got AMs or you got inside forwards on attack and you want to attack spaces. You know that you'll be defending for 90 minutes and you're going to break into space. So if you're thinking like Liverpool, Salah and Mane, yes, attacking to space, they have to have good acceleration. Acceleration becomes important for attack duties if you want to create a style of play which attacks space that becomes available. Can you make space available? Of course you can. You can play deep and draw teams in, but you can't do that if your defense has poor footballing intelligence. So before you even think about dropping deep to draw teams in and then hitting them in their spaces, make sure that you sort out your boys at the back first. Can they play that kind of a game? Can they draw teams? Are they good enough to soak the pressure? Can they deal with crosses? Can we play the ball out? Then you're looking at support players. Do we have players in midfield or in central midfield who have vision and flair to make the pass? Do we have enough creators there? Finally, when it comes to the attack itself, then you're looking at how you can attack. If you have acceleration, then you have options of attacking into space when you're dropping deep. If you don't have acceleration and you're camping, then it doesn't really matter. Then off the ball is more important. Why have I not included acceleration? You see, the thing is that there are going to be times when you are playing against teams that are sitting back and they're deep, and acceleration just doesn't carry the same value. Then off the ball becomes very important. You just need to know when acceleration comes into play. If I'm an LLM side, acceleration is important because chances are most of the teams might be attacking me because everybody expects to kick the hell out of me. So if that happens, acceleration becomes important because there's going to be space. If I want to play a deep style, then I'm going to hit teams on the break, then acceleration becomes important. So acceleration is something that you need to think about, because sometimes that's why we've included key attributes that don't include acceleration, because acceleration in itself depends on the situation and kind of things that you want your tactics to do. Off the ball is way more important, because off the ball is about the intelligence of your players to be able to find themselves or put themselves in positions where others can find him, which is one of the reasons why teams like Barcelona play so well, because the players have got fantastic off the ball. Pochettino's Spurs side, when they're in full flight attack, they look damn good as well. Off the ball is very, very good in that team. So it becomes really important. Decision making is also very important, because decisions as an attribute affects the scope of possible outcomes that a player can assess before he embarks on an action in a game. First touch. Without first touch, a player may not be able to take control of a ball. So even if you have a player with great acceleration and he's breaking into space, if he doesn't have good first touch, acceleration is not really very useful, because he may not be able to take control of the ball, which is why first touch is more important. Composure for any attack duty is going to be important. It doesn't matter whether you're a winger on the outside, on the flanks. Composure becomes important because you might end up being under pressure, or you might find yourself in space and you're going towards goal. Any attack duty that's expected to move into channels and attack the box is expected to have some degree of composure. Composure is important. Balance is also important. Vision, finishing, crossing, dribbling, and passing. So when we look at attack duties, what kind of attack duties are we looking at here? We're looking at any duty that is expected to attack space, go down the flanks, or attack centrally. So we're looking at fullbacks on attack. We're also looking at complete wingbacks on attack, wingbacks on attack. We're looking at Mazzalas on attack. We're looking at advanced forwards on attack, inside forwards on attack, wingers on attack, wide midfielders on attack. So basically all these players who are expected to not only create something, but to get further forward. You see, the thing is here, any attack duty is going to have that instruction, get further forward. Get further forward as an instruction instructs them to actually be out there. If you play a structured system, then these attributes become even more important, because they're going to be on their own. They're going to have to be able to do things with the ball before support actually arrives. So such attributes become very, very important. So I hope that this has helped clear the air and allowed you to think about duties in the right way when you want to set up your tactics. If you have any questions, you know to find me on Discord, and I will try and get answer any questions that you might have. Once again, I want to thank all of you for your continued support on my Patreon channel. You guys make it worthwhile to do this kind of shows. So I'll catch up with you guys again soon. Bye bye.